Unit 2, Lesson 4, Part 1. So Lesson 4 was split into 2 equal parts. So proportional relationships and equations. I can write an equation in the form of y equals kx. Now that's going to sound scary, but it's really not. Y equals kx to represent a proportional relationship and described by a table or a story. So a story is just a word problem. I can write the constant of proportionality as an entry in a table. So that means it's like in the others that we've done, where I've added a row. So let's look at our first one. So it says, feeding a crowd revised. So we did a problem similar to this last week. So a recipe says that 2 cups of dry rice serve 6 people. Complete the table as you answer the questions. So I have to figure out what it's going to be for 1. So I'm going to divide by 2. And I get 3. So that means once I figure that part out, I can figure out the rest of these. So 1 times 3, so that would be 9. That's times 4. Oh, I'm sorry. It's times 12. Goodness gracious, sakes alive. 3 times 12 is 36. Times 43. So 3 times 43, that would be 9. 129. So each time, what did I do? What was my relationship to get from 1 to any of the other ones? I had to multiply by 3 because it was 3 people. So 1 cup of rice will feed 3 people. So 43 cups of rice will feed 129 people. So I'm multiplying by 3. So I would say 3x or 3 times x. Remember, that's when we use our raised dot. So each cup feeds 3 people. So my relationship is 3 times the number of people. Feeding a crowd revisited part 2. So now we're looking at the spring rolls problem that we had before. So we're trying to figure out how did they get from 6 to 1. So they divided by 6. So 3 divided by 6 is 0.5. So 1 spring roll will feed half of a person. Oh, I don't want to do that. So now I can fill in the rest of my table now that I have all that information. So I can multiply by 10. Each time I'm multiplying by that 0.5. So 0.5 times 10 would be 5. I get 8. If I multiply by 25 on each side, I get 12.5. So each time I multiplied by that 0.5. So how many people will N spring rolls serve? 0.5 is my constant of proportionality because 1 spring roll feeds 0.5 of a person. So I would go 0.5 n. So I can multiply 0.5 times n. So it didn't matter what number I used, I always multiplied it by 0.5. So how is completing the second table different from completing the first? So let's take a look. So I first went up to 1. In this one, I first went up to 1. But this time, in the second table, I was multiplying by a decimal. So I can say in the second table, I multiplied by a decimal. Okay, how is completing the second table the same as completing the first table? Once I knew what it was for 1, I could find all the other values. So that's important. Remember, in 6th grade we talked about finding for 1, and now we're revisiting that whole concept in 7th grade. So activity 2, Denver to Chicago. So this is a map. Here's Denver, and Chicago's over here. So it says it took a plane 1.5 hours to fly 915 miles. So they want to know what was its speed per hour. So I'm going to divide by 1.5. So I'm going to divide this side by 1.5 because I want to figure out how fast did they go in miles per hour. So I'm going to type in 915 in my calculator. I'm going to divide by 1.5 and I get 610. So it didn't speed up or slow down because it says it flew at a constant speed. Remember, constant speed is that really magical place where there's no wind resistance, there's nothing that gets in the way, no storm. It's just going to keep going at its same rate. So now we're going to fill in the rest of the table. I'm going to multiply by 2. So I multiply this side by 2 and I get 1,220. I'm going to multiply this side by 2.5. Let's multiply this side by 2.5. Remember, we're talking about hours here. So 2.5 hours times 610 miles, that's 1,525 miles. So each time, what did I multiply by? 610 times the number of hours. So what was your speed in miles per hour every single time? It was always 610. Because I flew at a constant speed, I didn't speed up or slow down. So all the way along, I went 610 miles per hour. So it doesn't matter how many hours I put in there because this plane is magical. It's going to fly forever. It's never going to need to be refueled. It's going to be 610. And when you guys are in math at the high school and even next year, you guys are going to look at relationships that maybe aren't proportional, meaning that they decrease as they hit a certain number. And that's kind of when you go into physics and more real math. All right, so the plane still flew at that constant speed. So how far would the plane fly in t hours at this speed? So 610 t. Remember that when they're touching, there's no it's multiplication. You don't need to have that symbol in there. So explain your reasoning. Every hour the plane went 610 miles. So now it says if D describes the distance that the plane flies at this speed for t hours, write an equation. Remember, an equation is going to have an equal sign. So we know that it's 610t, and we know that's going to equal our distance. So our distance is dependent on how far, for how many hours that they flew. Remember when we talked about independent and dependent variables last year? So how far would the plane fly in 3 hours at this speed? So you're going to say D equals 610 times 3. So again, you take out your handy dandy calculator, 610 times 3, and you get the distance is going to be 1,830 miles. So then they want to know in 3.5 hours. So same thing, D equals 610 times 3.5. I don't want to use an X for my multiplication symbol because that will look like a variable. A variable is a letter that represents a number. So my distance is going to be 2,135 miles. So now you're at your cool down, and I want you to figure out the number of quarters versus the number of toonies. This is actual Canadian money. Well, that's what it says in the problem anyway. But you're going to complete it on Canvas. Remember, we've been drawing all over our keynote this entire time. So you need to draw all over this to figure out your answers. Then, if I need you to submit this as a PDF, so you're going to go to export and export it as a PDF. If you need extra practice, you can go to Khan Academy. You can check out Mr. Morgan's help video, email a study buddy, or set up an appointment on Calendly, and I will be glad to walk through your cool down or this assignment with you.